Hi, chat. Hello. Fancy seeing you guys here. Yes, that is Clyde and Brody having a lot of fun down there in the Gunshine State. If you guys that's something I put up a couple days ago for the members only. Give you guys a little bit of taste of that. There'll be more stuff coming up there, and we'll have some Clyde and the Other Dog content I'll put up for the members only. Then eventually I'll share it here with you, the commoners. But yes, they are thriving. They are moisturized and thriving in their lanes. Yeah, see how happy they are when I'm not around? I know. Yes, part 1 implies there's a part 2. Well, there's going to be more. It's just I haven't gotten part 2 yet. So it hasn't happened. It has not happened yet. Anyway, guys, welcome to the show. Oh, my God, it's like 8 o'clock and I'm still dressed. God, it's been an awfully fucking long day. Got the car almost all the way loaded up. They're coming to take pictures tomorrow of the house, so I got to get everything out tonight. And then, so tomorrow night we will, we'll be getting ready. Last night in Ohio as we do this here. Radcon Hazard for $2 says, for the last Ohio suspender snap. I mean, I guess I'll do it for $2. So, yeah. Yep. I own you says, look at that kitchen. I know. Our doors are all intact. We don't have to worry about it. Under the sink right here, we have all our proper doors. Malcolm Combs says, RIP, DB Zombie. Hold on here. Rest in peace, John Blanche. Do I? Oh, from Goonhammer. Oh, and the 440K artist passed away. Oh, damn. So if you guys don't know who he is, he was a Warhammer. He was a Warhammer artist, and especially like old school Warhammer shit, and did shit like this. Oh, hold on here, guys. Hold on, chat. Why will this not fucking work? Okay, there we go. If you guys ever seen it, that is him right there. It's his work he did. So, yes. Is this where all the magic happens? Yes, it is. The sandwich magic, yes. The sandwich. And see, chat, I don't have Reddit, so there you go. There's no fucking sandwich leopard account or nothing like that here. I can tell you that much right now. Professor Sybird says, are you still beating me copium on the T front? I don't know. I don't worry about the scoreboard. I just need to crush him. You'll know we've won when we're standing in Berlin, sir. And with that said, chat, if you guys are new, we are sponsored by one of our great sponsors here, the dragonstreasure.com, a haven for tea and anime lovers. But also if you love coffee and tea and soap, you're all set. Guys, hit up the T-Man. He's doing God's work out there. Doesn't, T-Man wouldn't take his family and plow into a front-end loader while he's tweeting or while he's sitting there just hitting the gas. Gas, bam! He wouldn't total his Nissan van into a front-end loader. He wouldn't do that. T-Man would protect his family and watch out for his family. And guys, it is summertime, and the Dragon's Treasure has all kinds of things you can do with your tea. They have Beyond Tea Time's End. That's a new thing. They have a new Freer-inspired white tea. It's white, chat. It's white tea. I mean, what more could you want out of tea if it's white? It's like you're a fucking white tea. No, they have Western-themed teas that are still out there. It's called Tea Haw. All kinds of great stuff out here. And guys, still they have pumpkin spice if you really want to get your white girl on. And it's a little early in the year, but you can do it. Promo code criminal, 10% off. Don't cope. Don't cope. If you have to choose between coping or being a criminal, So, what's a T for? Let me know in the oranges below. Okay. Thank you, Mystery Sniper. Please quit spamming. Black tea over ice is the only way. That is pretty good. That's pretty good. Gooner says, God loves his basic autumn white girls. Yes. The Kentucky bourbon tea is tasty. I've never had it. Johnny, Mega Johnny says brick by brick. Yes, chat. We are breaking brick tonight, covering the Bricks and Minifigs fiasco. What's the loader for? Maisie Star saying hi, hello. All right, guys. So we're going to get into this here. This is something, if you follow really a lot of different channels, they're getting into it. And I'm not going to do this like, people like somebody mentioned I should do it like Leonard French on The Lawful Masses does. He doesn't show docs. He just talks, and it's very kind of like awkward. You're like, part 7, part 8. It's like, no. We're going to talk about this Bricks and Minifigs fiasco. There's a lot to be said here about how to run a business. There's a lot to be said about if you really want to invest in things, how should you protect your investment? Because yes, Bricks and Minifigs is really the bad guy here, but if you clearly protect your neck, that would help a lot. I mean, if this is really something where you're like saving all this crap up and it's a big investment for you, treat it like any other investment. You protect it. You make sure it's done properly. This is a lesson for all of you out there. It's a lesson for everyone out there. It's a lesson for all kinds of people to do all kinds of things. There's a lesson to be seen that, like Reckless Ben, he was able to get a lot done. But also, I've seen a couple of the clips where, like, he does shit, and it's like, whoa, that is actually kind of like, you can't do that. So, sure, were the police shitty to him? Yeah, but he also did a lot of scummy things. It's just, it's a whole mess of everything that's going on. It's a whole mess of everything that's going on. And we're going to start out with, what happened. And this is at a store called Bricks and Minifigs. And if you guys don't know what Bricks and Minifigs are, they are a Lego reseller, and they do all kinds of great things here. And this is what they do. They notice. They go through minifigures, complete sets, endless bricks, and more. They say, I have old bricks you no longer need. We'll buy them from you. So they are a reseller of Lego kits and Lego things. And if you guys don't realize it, Legos are really expensive. And the old Lego things can be a lot of money. And one of the more famous ones here, I actually still have. I have all the parts and pieces. And this is a great example of something you can find right now, and it's actually worth a little bit of money if you can go find it, if you can grab a hold of it. This thing right here, the Crusader Castle, this is one of the first serious Lego castles that they created. And you'd see it's got the nice pedestal mount for it. I still have this. I still have the pedestal mount. My niece and nephews, they all play with it. I still have the big red Lego tote bins of like, they were like the little Lego designated things. Like I probably have all those pieces still. Almost all of them. Almost all of them. I don't have any of the documentation for it, but I have almost all that castle. And this was like the generic castle thing. It's pricey because of that base plate. I still have the base plate. I have that base plate sitting at my parents' house. My the pirate version of that base plate with the ocean lapping up on it. I still have like one of the Royal Knights base plates. I have a couple of them. I have a couple of like runway pieces and road pieces. J. Ross's movers probably took it. No, they wouldn't. But no, this stuff could be worth a lot of money. This Lego set right here is almost 35, 40 years old. It's not like worth like $10 million, but a couple $100 could definitely be there. On that. But it definitely could be a thing. What are you guys saying? What did I do here? What did you call? Wawa supervisor says, congrats on the new house. I just need you to know this angle makes it look like you're streaming until your Tostina pizza rolls are cool enough. Well, I'm not at the new house. But yes, I'm sure that it would be. Ooh, they're almost ready. No, I don't have any, like, I put everything away, so I don't even have plates right now. I put everything away, so nothing's cooking. Nothing's cooking. Nothing is cooking. Sean just wants you to use them for contracts when you sell your Legos. You guys are ridiculous. It's definitely worth money. I'd have to find all the pieces, though. But like I said, guys, Legos are very much a thing. But from here, we go on to this. And this is from Salem, Keyser. This is Salem, Oregon. And Bricks and Minifigs has, stores all over the country. And they talk about here that they're saying that, and this is back in 2023, they're going to display one of the largest privately held collections of Star Wars Lego stuff in the world, to quote Jeremy Clarkson. And they say in the early 90s, a guy named Ed Mansell predicted Star Wars Legos would be a good investment. Over the next 15 years, he bought $20,000 of them. He preserved them and sealed them in their boxes. And the investments are now estimated to be at least $200,000. Guys, don't do this. This is, I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not an investment advisor here. But if you're trying to protect and make money for your family, don't do this. This is like buying Beanie Babies. This is like buying Pokemon cards. Don't do this. Put your money in like a Vanguard ETF or something like that. Put something like that's sustainable in practice. This is like, come on now. You can't do this. You can't, like, this is just, this could have easily shit it out on him. But this is the dumb fuck way of investing. This is stupid investing. Bitcoin is a better investment than this. Bitcoin is a better investment than this. Buying guns and ammunition is a better way to do it. Wawa Supervisor says, load all your money onto your Wawa app today because hoagies always retain their value. Yes. Yes, buy Beanie Babies. They're going to bounce back. Walter Malone says, can I just buy silver coins and bury them in my backyard? That actually is that's not a bad idea. I mean, they're there forever then. Orville says, do you think this seriously was an investment or they made it up because it sounds good? I mean, yeah, it's out there, I guess. Like, who knows? Who knows, really? But it worked out for him. It was worth a lot of money. So anyway, guys, yeah, there's unredacted body cam footage. Guys, I have not had the chance to go through it. David from Making Law Simple gave me like a whole deck of like a Dropbox full of documents to look through. I was only able to start looking at those at like 5:30 today. So I am not caught up. I understand there's a bunch of body cams and like American Faggot Fork Police, and there's like the Mormon Mountain Jew Mafia, and I'm not all the way into that. Okay, we're gonna have to we're gonna have to take some time on this one. We're gonna have to take some time on this one. So, yeah, I see all the unredacted body cams. Guys, I haven't even seen all the shit out there beforehand. So, and we don't have that kind of time tonight. The Mountain Jews, well, that's what people call the Mormons. It's all in Utah. But anyways, they talk about multiple sets, incredibly rare. The rare Cloud City set, and they're worth more than $10,000 each. Some of the individuals are worth more than $1,300 each. And what do they mean by minifigs? Guys, they mean this right here, like a minifig. Like these dudes, like this guy right here, that's a minifig. This guy right here is a minifig. Like all these people are minifigs, and they can be worth a lot of money. And actually, one of the more expensive things that's actually kind of out there that's kind of big is inside this like prison door cell thing. There's actually a ghost. It's a glow-in-the-dark ghost, and I have like 1 million of them because I built like 1 million things. And yes, the little Lego guys are worth a lot of money. I mean, I still have the ones with the horses, and they have the Crusader crap on them, and the black and blue birds on it. It's a lot of stuff there. But let's keep reading though. The tenfold increase in the value is a greater return than if they had put the same amount of money into the stock market in a Dow Jones index fund. I mean, maybe, but you have to hope this stuff retains value. It's kind of like Pokemon cards right now. They were big and then they bottomed out, and now they're big again until they bottom out. Beanie Babies were great until they bottomed out. Tulip bulbs were great until they bottomed out. So you're playing with fire here. This is extremely volatile, extremely volatile. So, anyways, what did the Mancells do? So the Mancells came up with they went to the Bricks and Minifigs, and they signed a consignment agreement. Now, yes, consignment is where you basically have an agreement. They sell them and they pay you the money. Now, there's a lot more to it than that, but this is the basic where things start. And this is a consignment agreement. Now, I understand Bricks and Minifigs is saying, we don't do consignments. We're only supposed to buy. But one of your franchisees made this agreement. So they talk about the right to sell. He owns a large collection of retired Star Wars Legos, which they have attached as a schedule. And in accordance with it, they grant Bricks, which is the store, an exclusive right to sell the Star Wars Legos. They agree to devote its best efforts. All sales prices and terms shall be determined by mutual consent of the parties. And that's how consignment works. You guys agree on a price, and they agree to sell it for that price. So they agree to pay how much to this guy? Well, the guy gets 65% of the proceeds from the gross sales, unless otherwise agreed. The amount shall be paid in monthly installments on or before the 15th day of the following the installment period which the money was obtained. With each net proceeds payment, Bricks will submit to Mansell a written report, which they state, and they will show how much they have going here. And they point out it is agreed that with respect to proceeds obtained from forfeited layaway, because remember, people could pay and they could put stuff on layaway, but if they forfeit the layaway, or proceeds generated from gift cards, store credit, or trade-ins, will be due and paid 6 months following the store's receipt of the alternative compensation. And they say they shall keep accurate records of what's sold. The merchandise shall remain the property of Ed Mansell until sold. And that's correct. It's still my property. He still owns these Legos. He brought them in to be sold. Loss and insurance. They agree to store the Star Wars Legos in a manner customary in the industry. I mean, what does that mean here? Well, it's customary in the industry. How do you store Legos? Well, they don't just store them like in a chicken shack or in a chicken coop. They're going to store them in the normal store. They're going to have their normal security measures. everything in normal place, in the normal course of business. Bricks and Minifigs is responsible for all the shortages, loss, or damage while they're under their control. Because remember, like, they're the ones who control the building and everything there. They warrant that they have purchased insurance that's sufficient to cover the loss of the Legos without limitation to fire, flood, theft, or vandalism. They maintain that such insurance will be maintained, and it will pay for the replacement of the merchandise in the event of such shortages, loss, or damage. And they say that Bricks and Minifigs shall be liable for an indemnify mantle, meaning we will take care of it, for all employee payroll taxes arising out of wages payable to persons employed in connection to this agreement. So anything where they, like, you are not liable for the employees, you're not liable to make any of this happen. And this is, this is pretty standard. This is pretty standard. And they say defaults, and this is where things start to get interesting. If Bricks and Minifigs fails to abide by the agreement, including the obligation to remit the consignment payments when due, they have the option to cancel the agreement by providing 14 days written notice. The store shall have the option of preventing the termination by taking corrective action and cures the default if such corrective action is taken prior to the end of time. Period. Now, dispute resolution, chat. Now, you can tell this is not a corporate document. This was done up by these people, and I wonder if they had an attorney look this over, the franchisees. They say the parties will attempt to resolve anything through friendly negotiations amongst the parties. This is where, you don't do this as a lawyer. You would not say, oh, we're just going to sit down and chop it up. No. How do we plan to resolve this? How do we plan to resolve this? And this is interesting. These are a bunch of far lefties and Antifa goobers, that run the store. Well, Larry, I mean, that's not a surprise. Not a surprise. But the matter's not resolved. They will use alternative dispute resolution, ADR, chat. We talked about this in the Russell Greer case. ADR means arbitration, mediation, whatever might be available. Anything that's alternative of going to trial and having courts involved. They will have binding arbitration if it doesn't work. Now, this is something that still exists. So if the agreement's broken in any way, any controversies or disputes arising out of this agreement shall be submitted to mediation. If mediation isn't successful, if mediation is not successful, it goes to arbitration. So I think that's where this has to end up. But we're going to get to all of that. Transfers of rights. This agreement is binding on all the parties. Neither party shall have the right to assign its interest, meaning sell it or give it to anyone else, unless prior written consent of the other party is obtained. So Bricks and Minifigs couldn't sell it off, but neither could Mansell sell this off without agreement ahead of time. So now, termination, 30 days written notice is pretty standard. The agreement shall terminate automatically in January 31st, 2025. And they talk about, if there are proceeds derived from alternative compensation within 6 months, all unsold Star Wars Legos shall be returned at the end of this agreement within 10 days of the termination. The entire agreement, this is the entirety of the agreement. There are no oral or other promises. If they're not here, they don't exist. Amendment, this can only be amended upon agreement of both parties. Severability, if any of this is found to be illegal or unconstitutional, the rest of it moves on. The failure of any, and this is here, the waiver of contractual right. We talked about this before, Chad, especially in terms of like landlords. If you have a landlord and you are always 10 days late with the rent, but you pay him and he shuts up, the landlord has basically done what's called waiver. He's set new terms. He's waived adhering to those strict terms, and now he's picked a different set of terms because his actions indicate this is okay. Failing any party to not enforce this will not be construed as waiver of their rights. And you know what? Ultimately, a limitation of the party's rights to enforce and compel strict compliance. Meaning, well, I want strict compliance and you can enforce it. Even if you haven't done it before and you let stuff slide and you're the store or the guy, it's all okay. Now, this is interesting. Applicable law shall be governed by the laws of the state of Oregon. Signatories. It's done by Brian Mansell, which is the son of the guy with the stuff. And on behalf of Bricks and Minifigs is Crystal Law, the owner. Now, notice this is the end of the agreement. They don't include a bunch of stuff here. They don't include something about who's the drafter. I mean, this was not done by a lawyer. And there's already problems with this. Like, is this agreement, going to happen here? How does this all work? This clearly wasn't greenlit by corporate. There's a lot of stuff missing from this that I think is very concerning. But once again, guys, this is a great example of why you don't do this crap on the back of a napkin. Or more importantly here, nope, I don't. All right, never mind. I threw the envelope away, chat. But you can't do this on the back of an envelope. This is not a very good agreement. Like, how does it work if there's disagreements? How does it work if there's, are we really just agreeing to binding arbitration? Is this set up? Is this through corporate? This is a franchise. So how's this going to work in accordance with the corporate structure and corporate rights? Because ultimately, if the franchise fails, the corporate group moves in. And this may not be part of their thing. Like, how do we do this? What do we do with all this stuff? There's a lot of problems. This is not done very well. Now, yes, that's the thing. Bricks and Minifigs was a $400 million a year company. Now, what happened? At some point, the people running the Keizer, Oregon Bricks and Minifigs, they basically got forced out by corporate, and corporate basically took over their store, kicked them out, and basically voided their franchising agreement. While this happened, all these Star Wars Legos were hanging out, and somehow all these Star Wars Legos disappeared. They were sold, and people were able to track them to an extent. Some of this stuff got sold off, but a lot of it's all gone now. It's all gone now. And this all led to this here. And they talk about, this is from the son of the guy who had it all. And, Bricks and Minifigs stole his collection. Once again, if it wasn't for dickheads like you guys, there wouldn't be any thievery in the world. This is an example of why you don't do this. Forced out, they weren't paying their franchise fees. It's not clear. It's not clear. I know there's a bunch going back and forth on that, but there's all kinds of issues with how this all unfolds. But once again, this is a very common thing, chat. If you have your crap in a store and the store goes down and it goes bankrupt or shut down, you still have access to it. Like, it's still your stuff, but it's stuck in there. The same thing if you're a vendor for a restaurant and you're a vendor and you supply like linen, or you supply the silverware, you supply X, Y, or Z, and the store gets locked up. It's stuck in there for now. there's a lot of issues with this, but this is what happens. This is why consignment's very dangerous. You may yeah, okay, great, it's mine, and a thief can't pass on better title than what he's got. But this is why you don't do this stuff. That's why you have to be smart about it. You have to do a lot of things here. And, we get to what happened. And now this is the thing that had gone out. And this is the guy saying, they stole it all. It's like they did. They took it, and they didn't have the right to take it. Now, this gets all really emotional. We're not really worried about that. But, we had over 780 sets and 1,200 little Lego guys. So what do? They took this stuff in to consign, and they created a contract. And they gave close to 40 sets to take with her and sell at a Comic-Con in Portland. After working out a contract, which did they use a lawyer for it? No, they didn't. They had a big unveiling. And they say every month I would go in on the 15th and pick up a stack of receipts and a check along with the notes for how many minifigs and how many sets were sold. Everything was going great until November 2024. What happened? Well, they were told that the company and the new owner took over. And the thing was, the way they have it set up, it's like, well, the guy that now runs the store is somebody that was working through corporate. And they say that, he's saying that, hey, Bricks and Minifigs had some sort of disagreement with the franchise owner and seized the store and all the merchandise. The problem is they seized my collection, which did not belong to them. They were told about this collection and never reached out to us for over a week. Well, yeah, it's because Bricks and Minifigs never does consignments. They're like, we don't do that. So yeah, I'm sure they're like, what the fuck? We don't do this. Now, that doesn't excuse all of this, but once again, you need to make sure when you're working with an organization that you're not just doing random crap on your own. That's one of the things that makes it stronger, especially for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for your big investment. Why aren't you protecting it or making sure you have the laws and what access is available to you to do that? It's kind of a big deal. Once again, you set yourself up for failure. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to dump all this as an investment. And David, I'm not even talking about the UCC notice. David from Making Law Simple for $9.99. We have not even gotten to the UCC filing. It's not the end of the analysis. I agree, it's not. I'm just pointing out that if you're trying to offload a couple $100,000 investment, I mean, what these guys are basically doing right here is selling this shit out of the trunk of a car on the street corner. Kind of foolish. I think that this is a great example for people, though. Why you have to do things the right way. What you're going to do here, and how this happens. And Cheese Slope says BAM Corporate should have never taken over the place. Yeah, I get it. Sure. They shouldn't have, but they did. And that consignment agreement is garbage. It's clearly not a corporate document. So it's very weird that they would allow, as part of their corporate policy, consignments, but they don't have a consignment document as part of their corporate structure. They should. And this is just, once again, they drew it up on the back of a napkin. No, and this is where the Mancells, their ignorance and their laziness is a warning for you. Their ship sinking is now, oh God, I need to make sure I'm paying attention to what I do with my investments. If I'm entering into business contracts, I better be careful and know what I'm doing. There's a lot there. Unfortunately, everybody involved is an idiot, yes. And J-Rock, I agree that they take liability, but still, You need to protect your neck. You need a belt and suspenders. So what does that mean? You make sure the documents work. You make sure you do all these things right. Yes, brick by brick, you protect yourself. Brick by brick, you protect yourself. I don't think they did this the right way, and I'm a little disappointed in that. I think that there's a lot of problems here with this. That doesn't mean that what happened here isn't wrong. But yes, there is security camera footage where the laws who, they point out like, hey, this is a deal with the business. That they're going to take over the consignments. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of all of it. What they did, though, is they removed all the identifying stickers and tags that they placed on the sets and continued to sell them. And as I said, the sets are basically all gone. They lied. They played dumb. They said, hey, we don't know what's going on. But this guy shows up at the store, produces all his documentation, including the contracts and the inventory sets. They're in possession of stuff that's not theirs. Yep. And you know what they do? They tell you, fuck off. Once again, this is why you have to protect your investments. And that contract is not enough. You really have to do a lot to protect yourself. At least the story's funny. I mean, it's funny in a way, but once again, you're going to learn through as Kurt likes to say, you're going to learn through the misfortune of others. But anyways, ultimately, they changed the story a bunch, and they point out these guys took over the store, stole our items, and don't think we had the time or resources to do anything about it. We called the cops that night, and the store owners refused to let us see the back room where our collection was being stored. And I told them if they were telling the truth and nothing was back there, allowing you to see it resolved the issue. And what did they say? They said, yep, take us to court. Well, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Now, they have reached out to attorneys, and they're trying to get this stuff done, and we're going to get to all of that here. And they said, so far, these guys they go out there, they see stores, they steal assets according to other store owners. And yeah, there's a lot of issues here. Did they steal a couple $100,000 worth of stuff? Allegedly, some things are being looked into by law enforcement. Who really knows at this point? The police say it sounds like a civil matter. Yeah, because on their face, we have an agreement. It's not being followed. It's a civil problem. They're not going to get involved. They're claiming there was definitely criminal activity. They could have taken action when we called them. Instead, they chose to do nothing. Yeah, because they're not getting involved with you and your fucking Legos. Like, you can't sit there and act like you're surprised. Like, well, we have paperwork and agreements. They're not going to cut those up and tear them up and look through them and figure out what's going on. There's no, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. I think it's a little ridiculous. I think that's a very important thing that's happening here. Why isn't MLS a guest for this one? Because I hadn't thought about it. Like, dude, oh my God, guys, I understand there's body cam. I have not seen it. I don't know what's in. We're not watching 15 hours of body cam tonight. We're just trying to get caught up on this as we go through it. Okay? So, yes, I understand there's body cam. And they say, we have been in touch with several attorneys and drafted up several letters of cease and desist. Yeah, well, that's great. As well as a termination of contract notice, which is a thing you need to do. Terminate your agreement. You have to go through all these steps. They get ignored. Yeah, because you keep on out and desist. Once you do it once, that's it. If you keep sending cease and desist, that's like your parents saying, don't make me do that again. And, you count to 5 every time. Well, after a while, you're not scaring them. If you just keep sending cease and desist letters, it looks like you don't have any money to fight with. You send your one, and then when it's time to go to work, you go to work. You don't send out 1 million cease and desist letters. So let's just watch 12 hours then. Thank you, Ice Bread. Yes. Funny. If this is F1 racing, I'd stream it all night. Yeah. When the police spoke to the CEO, Eamon McNeff, and honestly, like, I mean, when you look at this guy, I mean, look at him. He's got a mustache that twirls. And guys, just so you know out there, you know who you are. If you have mustaches like this, gentlemen, it looks like you just like lather on, Bangoo and shape your mustache. Like unironically doing this is pretty cringe. Unironically doing this is cringe. It is. But this is the owner of CEO of Bricks and Minifigs. Yeah, it's not wax that holds that up. Jeff's mustache wasn't too bad, but this is ridiculous. Jeff's was not this ridiculous. There's a big difference here. And they going back to this case, going back to the thing, he says, when we call the shop, we're hung up on. Yeah, they're not going to. Once you start threatening them, they're not all of a sudden you can call them, especially if it's a corporate, you threaten to sue a corporate entity. Once you call, like, they're not going to take your calls anymore. Once you threaten litigation, communication stops. That's kind of like 101. When the police spoke to the CEO and made him aware, he lied and said they would go through their inventory and, of course, help find any returning, and then never did it. Now, this is the thing here. Their corporate legal team's committing malpractice because, honestly, what do? You give it back. You give it back, especially if it's identifiable. This would have been all done here. But they say at this point, we reached out to an attorney who told us it would unfortunately cost $60K to put an injunction on the store and a cease and desist until they could go back and produce all the receipts. Yeah, lawsuits cost money. That amount is literally almost the entire amount our percentage would have been, which is interesting because we kept on hearing, wait, this is a $200,000 thing, when in reality, it's about $100,000, which I'm not saying isn't a big deal, but we already have people, like, this story is built on, there's some gilding the lily here, and it's, once again, I don't like that when people do it. Just bring out what they got. They say, so we could spend all this money winning the battle, only lose the war. Yes. You're learning now. Yes, that is the risk of litigation. You might light all your money on fire and you get none of it back. You should assume you're going to get none of it back because that's how it goes. That's how it goes. Also, David, if you're out there, send me a text, man. Also, if you would like to come on, I'd be happy to have you on. I think the story, it's worth $200K, but the amount it's selling it is $60K. Yeah, but honestly, you know what this company should have done? They should have gone in and be like, oh, well, we're going to go ahead and give it back. But what did they do? They sold this crap. They sold all this crap, and they made their 100K off of it. And they've risked all of this for a couple $100,000. It makes no sense why they did this here. It makes no sense. It makes no sense why they did this, but they did. Well, you guys are asking for them, so I'll have them on. Like, geez, you guys are like losing your minds out there. Like, you guys just please calm down, okay? This is not like the best week. I'm sorry the show's not 100% good. I'm sorry. It's kind of a pain. It's really tough doing all this with limited resources. So, my bad. If it's not good, I'm sorry. I am trying. But yeah, plus who's got extra 60K sitting around? I don't know. Go buy more Lego sets. This has put a tremendous amount of distrust in the store chain. Yeah. Bricks and Minifigs all over the country are taking a beating. We thought by bringing our collection to store license and sell Lego products, it would be a safe and secure way to sell the collection while keeping it in the Lego community. No, you weren't. No, you didn't. No, this is all garbage. No, it was here in town and you thought you did it. So that's what happens, though. You're like, what did you like? What did you guys expect to happen? You're trying to make money. Don't worry about the Lego community. And we'll be doing everything we can through legal channels to make sure we get the word out. And further, I would hope Lego hears or sees this. And what are they going to do? As a company centered around family values, and I want this to be done right. We want a fair payout for the collection. Okay, well, yeah. The collection back or the store itself run out of town if they don't want to do what is right. I mean, now here's the funny thing. I reiterate, we don't really want this getting back to my dad, as it could impact his health. I mean, wait, does that mean dad didn't know his goober's son did this? Does that mean dad didn't know what was happening? That his goober's son took all this crap? It's like, oh yeah, dad, I'll turn it into $1 million. I'll 10x it. And he doesn't want his dad finding out he ruined it? I mean, it sounds like that. It sounds like that. Yeah, and that's the thing, Gasia, man. Lego Corporate and BAM are not officially affiliated. Yep, that's... Yeah. This is, once again, this stuff sounds like it was done on the back of a napkin. Why can't he learn about this? It sounds like a kid who actually pawned off his dad's gun or something. You have to do things the right way, chat. You have to do things the right way. But anyways, they're asking for all their help in this stuff here. So where do we start? Where do we start on all of this? Well, there were some lawsuits that were filed. There were a couple of lawsuits that were filed, and these were kind of interesting what they do. This is... wrong one, chat. Wrong one. Okay, sorry. Wrong one here. This one is the Gormans, the people who owned the franchise, suing on their own. And they're suing in Utah because this is where Bricks and Minifigs is based. Makes you wonder why they didn't sue there, but hey, they're doing it here. And ultimately, I think maybe their franchise agreement says this is the forum nonconvenience clause, meaning you stipulate that you will file it in Utah courts and you'll do it in whatever county this is in. And this is their lawsuit. They engage a lot of things here, and they talk about, this is 46 pages. We're not going through all of it yet. But they do talk about what happened to them and why it wasn't fair. And why I hate this freaking mouse pad. Ultimately, what are they suing? Well, they're saying fraud. And they're claiming fraud in the inducement. And basically that they were induced to enter into the franchise agreement in good faith. And they, good faith and fair dealing. It's one of the foundations of contract law that I am operating in good faith. That when I sign this contract, I intend to honor it. And that fair dealing. And I'm doing things that are fair to both sides. Now, I might get a benefit over you, but I can't just, sign your life away. But that is one of the first things. And fraud has to be pled with a lot of particularity. So they bring it all up. And they go through everything here, discussing all the fraud that went on. And this is a lot of pages. Second cause of action, negligent misrepresentation. They created misrepresentations, and they were negligent in doing it because then they breached it. Breach of contract. They have a franchise agreement. It's very easy to make a breach of contract claim. These are the big things you can do here. The breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. You might say, wait, Sean, you just talked about it. Yes, that is an implied covenant in a contract. That is a separate cause of action under common law that you're suing because there is an implied covenant that under the law, it's presumed you are in good faith and you are fair dealing. So not only you can do it otherwise, but it's a common law underlying thing here. Cause of action, conversion. Conversion means taking something and make it your own. You would call it theft if it was a crime, but you're converting its status. You're converting it from your ownership to my ownership. Well, now that's been converted. If I come and take your cow, it's conversion. And I put it on my side of the fence. Tortious interference. We see this all the time, especially in the lawsuits. Seventh cause of action is defamation. And that's where they make statements out there to other parties or people going. They claim these guys stole all the inventory from the store. And they say that these people were responsible for missing all the consignment stuff. The eighth cause of action is injurious falsehood and trade libel. Ninth cause of action is civil conspiracy. And guys, here's the big thing. This is RICO, and RICO is never the answer. RICO is not the answer. It's never the answer. So quit using RICO, please. Whoever you are out there, quit using RICO. They do move on to the Oregon Unlawful Trade Practices Act. You might say, well, wait, it's in Utah, but why are they bringing up Oregon? And that's because, once again, they are bringing it up here. And, why not at this point? You're already in for a penny, in for a pound. 11 cause of action, unjust enrichment. This is actually a very, it's not a unique tort, but it is one that's out there. And for example, this is how you get around the statute of frauds. The statute of frauds, chat, for example, is something where anything in the statute of frauds is types of transactions that have to have a written contract. And one of them is sales and land. You're supposed to have a written contract for that. Well, under the statute of frauds, if you don't, okay, well, now we got an issue. But more importantly, there are times where if you don't have a written contract, it's really hard to get the land that you paid for. What I would do in the meantime, though, is I could file a claim for unjust enrichment saying, we paid you $100,000 for this house, and we no longer have the house. You now have the house on $100,000. That's unjustly enriching you. So it is a way to handle things if you don't have proper documentation. Because otherwise, that guy's now got a bunch of money, and he's got to explain why it's for. The 12th cause of action is a declaratory judgment, and they want the courts to back up what they're saying. They want compensatory damages, all the fun stuff, and they are going through with that. And this is from March 27, 2026. And this takes a long time. This takes a long time for this legal stuff to shred around the system. Runkle, hey, how you doing, man? Says, I haven't gotten to that yet. RICO might be the answer in the suit against Reckless Ben. Yeah, because I've seen and I've heard about some of the things Reckless Ben's done, and it's like he did a lot of good, but some of the things he did, you're like, yeah, that's pretty scummy, man. You can't just act like that and say, oh, it's all a prank or it's all a work or I'm one of the good guys. It's like, good guys don't do that stuff. So yeah, Reckless Ben did a lot of things that were like, yeah, would not want to do that. Would not want to do that. Yeah, Reckless Ben was highly reckless. Yes. We got the unofficial Hella raid. Well, hello. Ben broke multiple laws. Yeah, I don't know if he broke multiple laws, but I will say, when you are, when you're in, wherever you are, where you live, guys, and you're a local in the community, and then some yahoo comes out there acting like a dickhead, the cops are going to take their side. Hold on, what's this here? Karayua says, if I sound like it for the store, I'm not, but I'm not going to sit here and say, Reckless Ben, oh, my poor baby ain't done nothing wrong. As an attorney, you have to give advice in what I think you need to do, good and bad. I'm not going to say he did everything perfectly. Do you think he did? I mean, we're not ass padding here. The man sells. They did this goobery, Microsoft Word and Chat GPT consignment agreement. Like, everybody here did things. They all could have done a lot of stuff better. Yeah, ultimately, should Bricks and Minifigs pay up? Yes. But how can you in the future make sure you don't end up in their situation? And that's what we're here talking about. That's what we're here talking about. That's what we're here telling you. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, if we're going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, no, Bricks and Minifigs, bad man, Reckless Ben, Angel, like, no, like, that's not how this works. That's not how this works. And if you're not here for it, okay. I'm not going to sit here and say this is perfect. I agree the police did some really shitty things to him. But he also did some really retarded stuff. You know, they both could be wrong. They both could be wrong. That's the thing. Like, they both could be wrong. They both could screw up. That's really the bigger part here, guys. It's a bigger part. Such is life. Such is life. Let me see. Where is the loss? Damn, I don't have the... I don't think there is. I don't have, and from the documents I have, I don't think I have the one of the Mansells suing. Cheesy Slope Queen says, this happened over a year ago. You wouldn't be talking about it if it weren't Ben. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's like Turtle Boy. We wouldn't be talking about Karen Reed if it weren't for Turtle Boy. But that also doesn't mean, like, he may have done some things a little retardedly. Like, you can do a little bit of both. You can do a little bit of both. You can do a little bit of both. So... Now, what happens from here? Well, things are now kind of spiraling out of control. Reckless Ben, he is being sued. Somehow the court in Utah got an injunction out against him, so some videos have to be taken down, which is really, really, really weird. You're saying I should wait and watch the videos? I mean, is retardedly a word you would use in a pleading? No, but we're doing here. Hold on here. I feel like Sean should just wait and watch the body cam videos. I've watched a couple Shark Jumper. Yeah, I'm not impressed. Like, the cops can be wrong in how they treat you. The cops can do a lot of wrong things. You could also still break the law. And you could also cause a lot of problems yourself. And the cops can also do a lot of wrong things and bad things. Like, you could both be wrong. Now, yes, is the cops doing something wrong really, really bad? Yes. But I'm also going to not sit here and say, oh, my baby didn't do nothing. No. Reckless Ben did some dumb things. He did not help himself. Could he have done things in a different way that made him look like my baby who did nothing wrong without stain? Yeah, but he didn't. So, once again, this is a lesson for all of you. If you have to engage in this public affairs battle, how do you do it? How do you not do it? There's a bunch of stuff Reckless Ben did that was good, but there's a bunch of stuff you might not want to do and repeat. Like, everybody can take notes out of this. Everyone can take notes out of this. Everyone can take notes. That's the biggest thing here. I do not use that word. Yeah, Runkle says, I've been watching the body. Well, the ones I've seen so far, like, because I've watched Reckless Ben stuff and, like, the stuff that's out there, like, yeah, the cops kind of suck, but I don't see, like, a massive civil rights violation on some of it. I'm just saying, like, you know, once again, you have to kind of be smart. You have to be kind of smart about this. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. BAM is screwed. They screwed. You know, they could have just given the money, given them the $65K, and they would have looked really awesome. And this would have been done. Nobody would have ever heard about this. And they'd be on making money now. But now, like, franchisees are suffering from this. And these guys are going to kill themselves. They're going to kill their company. All because, you know, and this is not uncommon. You hear about, like, nurses or doctors or, you know, even lawyers, they go and steal something for like $5 and get caught. They throw their career away. These guys are throwing their company away for like $60,000. A $400 million company. They're giving it away and destroying it for $60,000. And no, I agree. The stuff Ben did is epic. Like where he shows up and has the lady sign the document. He's like, "Oh, it's a document. I can do all this stuff." Like, yeah, that it's funny, but that's also not how the real world works. Like, it makes you look like an asshole. Even Hassan, let's not get too carried away. Let's not get too carried away. Let's be fair. We're not gonna defend Hassan Piker. No, I get it. I get it. They made up a bunch of shit. Stabby. They made up a bunch of shit. Great. You know what you do? You know how you really make yourself look really good? You insulate yourself by not doing retarded things on your end, because now you look like, the most sympathetic person in the world. Once again, you gotta war game this out a little bit. So did the kid flee to Mexico? I think he went, but he didn't flee. Oh, you have to see the ones with the store owner lying to the cops and refusing service. I'm sure Bam is lying. I don't have to really worry about that. I'm sure they've lied their ass off. No, I've not seen all the unredacted stuff, but I watched a bunch of the stuff that was already out there and listened to it while I was driving around. Yeah, it's over for Bam. Oh, it is. Once again, $60,000 they could have fixed this. The one McNeff was forced out of business in Ohio for giving legal advice without being a lawyer in some asset protection business. Yeah, that is a problem as well there, too. That is an issue. Let's see. Yeah, the 3-hour drug stop and the raid. I agree with all that. Those were wrong. Those are wrong. Those guys, the whole system was getting abused on that. Yeah, a lot of this shit was bad. And I agree the stuff that John Bryan, the civil rights lawyer, covered with reckless spend is great. Yes. Yes. So no, you can, once again, Orville, it can be all the above. Civil rights violation and all the other things here. So it could be a little bit everything, guys. Peen Weinerstein says the thing that shocked me about this is how deep the corruption runs in Mormon Mafia in Utah. Well, I mean, that's kind of true everywhere. But yeah, I mean, the Mormons and the LDS, it's a big thing in Utah. But when you're a homer in an area, yes, if you're suing somebody and you're connected in the community, you have a lot of benefit to your name. It's just like where you sued somebody. There's all kinds of things you can use in your own way. There's a lot here to do that. Now, I think people were talking about, it just hit Long Crimes YouTube channel. Oh, yeah. The Mormons put God-chosen people to shame. But anyways, yes, the Mormons do have that little bit of an insular thing. They're a very tight community. Certainly, does all that stuff help? Yeah, and they're taking advantage of it. You're asking, can the lady who redacted the body cam be Brady listed? I mean, yes, but if she never testifies, does she ever testify as part of her thing? Normally the person who does the redactions isn't somebody who testifies. So I don't know how that's going to work here. I don't know how that works here. So, I mean, yeah, she could be on your Brady list of not being she's dishonest, but does she ever testify? Okay. I mean, that's where I'd say something here. Poke Racer saying, what about the separation of church and state? There is a separation of church and state. There is no official religion of Utah. There is no official state designated church. It just happens to be like if you lived in a town and everybody goes to the same church. If like you and the police chief and the mayor and the fire chief and all the judge, you guys all go to the same church, like, yeah, you're going to have a lot of advantages. You're going to have a lot of advantages. Let me see here. Rivik says, why do the cops care so much about the guy? Because they're a bunch of goober police in like Hee Hawville, Utah. That's why. If this was like a place where they actually had real problems, they wouldn't be doing all this. But it's a bunch of police in a kind of a very local setting. They don't have a lot going on. The more like famous person in town, more prominent person in town, I guarantee you, Eamon McNeff went and holler into the mayor and holler into the county prosecutor and holler into the chief of police. And they're like, all right, we got to get stuff done. So they tell their guys to go out and do stuff. Certainly they go, yeah, we Mormon bros got to stick together. So yeah, that's why. That's why this happens. They also, for the cops, they're going to say, hey, look, we have people in our community that are here, and then we have some Yahoo who's out here fucking around. Now, that doesn't mean that's how they should base it, but that's normal human psychology. Some weirdos out here being a goober. Okay, guess what? You attract all the attention. Doesn't mean it's right. It's just the way the world is, chat. You know, and you have to accept it. It's like gravity. You know, yeah, you shouldn't, you know, people who have a malfunction of their parachute shouldn't die, but they do. It's not fair, but it's life. Colin's saying there's a connection because they literally went on a mission trip together. Yeah, that's fine. But once again, this isn't a separation of church and state issue. But yeah, I'm sure these people plotted and put some stuff together. They, you know, had a game plan on how they could, you know, forcibly come in and then hope these people don't have money or time to fight back. And it's not like they're Google, but you still need a lot of money to take these people on. And yeah, no, I totally wouldn't put it past people to do that and plot this out. Makes 100% sense. That's not out of the realm of possibility. Kyton saying there's nothing involving the church. I understand it's not involving the church, but certainly, like, if these guys weren't all Mormons and they were all like, if they weren't in church together or they didn't know each other, the community wouldn't be as tight knit. I think there's more of what people are getting at. I think is more of what people are trying to explain. Like, there's, you know, we're Mormons, so like help a brother out. Johnny says, if a town has 22 cops and 11 are on the Brady list, what do you have to do? Well, you've got a lot of problems. I don't know how you could do anything with your cops if they're all on the Brady list. Kyton says they're not all Mormons, sure, but who runs the politics out there? The Mormons. So you play along to get along. The popos of the podunk. Let me see here. What are you saying? Guys, calm down. I can't see. I can't, like, I'm using chat on a laptop with the mouse pad. So, like, just, if I missed your comment, I'm sorry. I'm trying to read up and catch here. Hold on, guys. So, just relax. Relax. I promise you we're going to get through this. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, and Eric, and this is kind of right. It's like saying Scientology doesn't have a hand in Clearwater, Florida's politics. They do. You do. Oh, let's see here. Miss all the comments, make chat suffer, yeah. I can't relax. Well, no, I think it's wrong this guy got his crap stolen. They literally did steal it. They've taken it and sold it and kept the money. So yes, if me or you did that and stole $65,000 worth of stuff, that's felony theft, and we'd be looking at prison. But when a company does it, it's a civil matter, and nobody's being held accountable for it. So no, I think that part is wrong. That part is wrong. But once again, that's wrong. Okay. But what can you take from that and apply to your life? That's kind of part of what I think is more important here at this point. Because I'm the 9,000th guy saying, well, yeah, it's wrong. Let's see here. Some of the police sound kind of naive because Officer Snuffy, Officer Bob has no idea what the hell's going on. His sergeant and lieutenant and stuff came a hollering, so they're showing up. Yeah, they're not not every cop is in on this. They're doing what they're told, but that's also a problem with the cops. Well, I'm just following orders. That's a big problem for them. But yeah, most of these guys are just kind of being told what to do. Fuck the fact it's Legos, it's $200K. Well, actually, it sounds like it's more like $100K total ultimately. And ultimately, their cut was $65K. Yeah, ultimately, yeah. If I stole $60,000, the police would be thumping down my door, search warrant, seizing electronics, and doing all kinds of things. Now, from here, what do you guys, though? I know people, people brought up to me, like Leonard French and other people saying, like, how do you protect yourself in these things? Well, one of the bigger things here is, and this is where we talk about the Uniform Commercial Code. And guys, this is something that, like, for sovereign citizens, like, we're not, I'm joking, it's a thing, but it really is a real thing here. Unoriginal DNA says, what about when BAM wanted extortion to give them back? How much will that hurt their current argument? Oh, yeah, everything they said and everything that's done out there is going to be part of a case. So in the civil case, yeah, their actions and things they tried to do at some point may not be officially protected settlement discussions, because sometimes on the rules of evidence, those are precluded from being introduced. But yes, if it's clearly in bad faith in what they're doing, yeah, they can 100% use that against them. It can definitely be done. It can definitely be done. It depends on how these things are, what the judges rule. But yeah, this is going to be a multi-year saga. I think people need to understand that too. This is going to be years. This is really just all kicked off. This is really just all kicked off at this point. This is going to be a 2 or 3 year struggle. It's going to be a 2 or 3 year struggle. So, am I wearing a Sam Brown belt? No, I'm wearing suspenders. Not dressed like a New Jersey State Trooper. But we're going to get to how do you, and this is something where even with the UCC filings, doesn't really do anything. And I'm going to explain to you kind of what's going on here. But anyways, guys, the Uniform Commercial Code, yes, sovereign citizens cite to this, but it is a real thing, okay? And what does it do? It covers sales and leases. And sales, this is the big one. When you're in law school, you learn about Article 2. It's part of your contracts class because it governs the sale of goods. You learn about negotiable instruments, bank deposits, and collections. Like how negotiable instruments, like checks, are done, and how the old system of checks, when they would get overnighted and transmitted around, there's a lot of this stuff is kind of anachronistic now, and it's very dinosaur tech, but it's how it all worked. Okay. Letters of credit, bulk transfers, documents of title, investment securities, and then Article 9, secured transactions. When you're in law school, you take a class called the commercial paper. And you're like, it's not really a thing anymore. Yeah, because what does everybody do? Debit card, bank card. Like checks, like, like this idea way back in the day, you guys, like people would sign a check and then you would sign it off to someone else. And then that person would sign it off. And if they still talk about that in law school, like the check would have 3 or 4 people signed off on it as like the check transferred around. Like that used to be a thing. That doesn't happen anymore, but it's a thing. But anyways, you get to Article 9 of the UCC. And Article 9 of the UCC covers secured transactions. But what does it talk about? Security interest, deposit accounts, electronic chattel paper, letters of credit, the scope of this, security interest. And there's a lot that goes on here. General effectiveness, title to collateral, after acquired property. You get to rights and duties of secured parties. In Article 9, you have what's called the holder in due course. This is the big thing, though, the priority and security of interest. But it also talks about agricultural liens. Priority and security of goods covered by a certificate of title. So what do you do when it's like cars or four-wheelers or motorcycles? What about with deposit accounts? It's investment property, letters of credit. There's a million different things this covers. How liens, all this stuff is done. But we need to move on because the one thing here is important. How does this work when you're dealing with filing of things? Let me get to this. Filing and compliance for consignments, which this was a consignment. The Mansells went to Bricks and Minifigs and did a consignment. A consignment is also known as a bailment. It is a type of bailment in other transactions. Now, yes, doing this would have been a good idea, but given the way this whole situation occurred, it doesn't really do much. It doesn't really do much. But you might say a consignor, lessor or other bailer of goods, a licensor or buyer of a payment. You may file a financing statement or may comply with the statute or treaty as described. And what does all this do? Well, it establishes that you have an interest in this property. And it allows you to go forward and say, hey, look, here's what I'm doing. I have an interest in it. And you file it. And you file it. Normally, you can do this like in a recorder's office. You can file it different ways. And that just establishes I have an interest in it. I've documented it. Here it is. The big problem, though, we're not in that situation where there's people competing for security interest. All the stuff about being in priority is like if a company goes bankrupt or they become insolvent or they go out of business. And how does that work? Well, once again, think about it. If you are a company and you are an HVAC company and one of your clients is the tire factory. Well, you've done a lot of work, doing the air conditioning for the office part of the tire factory. Well, they went out of business and they haven't paid you all the way. Well, you have some priority in getting paid. You have some priority in we did work. You might have to put a lien down. But how does that work now? Because you've got to deal with the tire company. Like they may have a mortgage on their property. The people who supplied them the rubber may have, priority on things. The people who you buy the machines from might have priority on things. Like they want to get paid too. It's like bankruptcy. How does it work? You have to establish where you are in the chain. And the higher you are up the ladder, the better you are. If you have priority, it's a big, big deal. There's the lien tier list. I mean, really, there is. There literally is. There's an entire, hold on. Oh, I don't have it on here. Damn it. It's on my desktop. I still have my notes from commercial paper and secured transactions. There's an entire list of this crap and how you get priority. Because once you have priority, you're first in line. And you know what that means? You get to step up front and say, pay me. Or at the very least, that's mine. I want it back. And you get it. But this isn't that situation. Bricks and Minifigs is not out of business. They're not insolvent. There aren't creditors prowling at the door. They just stole the stuff. And there's no question these documents existed. Multiple people can attest to the consignment. We have Bricks and Minifigs making statements about the consignment when they were kicking out the franchisees, that they acknowledge the existence of the consignment. So there's not a problem like filing your UCC statements. And this is where I think Leonard French was wrong. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter here. I mean, should you do that as a course of action? Yes. And that's one of the things I agree with, though. How do you make sure you protect yourself? It's a $20 filing through the Secretary of State where you live, and you file things. You protect your stuff. But also, if you have like $60,000 or $100,000 of stuff you're selling, you know what's a good idea? Talk to an attorney and help them figure out, have them help you figure out for $300 an hour of their time. They might be able to tell you what you should do or not do. This consignment agreement. You know what you should do? Take it to a lawyer. Hey, lawyer, do you see any problems with this? And the lawyer might say, well, is this a corporate endorsed document? And then you go back and say, hey, is corporate on board with this? It looks like you guys just wrote it. Yes, protect, as Wu-Tang tells us, protect your neck. You have to protect your neck. Now, that said, though, in this situation, none of that would have mattered because the company just stole your shit. So I have title to it. Cool, they still stole it. Doesn't mean anything. Autistic train set. Where am I moving to? Florida. And yes, in the leak body cam, I think it's in the store footage. The people who were there saying, "Oh yeah, we'll take care of it. I'm a low level employee for the company," end up becoming the franchise people running the store. Like they took it over. Yes, there's a lot of sketchiness. There's a lot of sketchiness to this. 100%. He also admits Brian's missing around $100,000 Lego. Yeah. I think it's very, very important, but it's ultimately in this situation, BAM just took all the money. Bricks and Minifigs. They just took the money. So it's 200. If it's 200K, make a video if the whole transaction. Yeah, but it sounds like even the Mancells are admitting we are only going to get 65%. And it sounds like we're only entitled to 65K, which means it's probably only worth $100,000. But regardless, $200,000, $100,000, $20,000, $10,000, $1,000. Bricks and Minifigs shouldn't have stolen any of it. They should give them their money back. Neil Ferrazzi says, does that mean you're not an adult and don't track your investments? No, you should track. Like I'm saying, you should. You should really be on top of your stuff. If your money's out there working, you should be making sure what's going on. I think it's very important, and I think this is something where the big issues are here. Yeah, and this is actually, thank you, EDW. This is actually a very good descriptor here. You know, if you guys are trying to understand stuff, like, you know, who gets paid first? Like if it's a bankruptcy and you're jockeying for priority. Okay, well, mortgages and liens. But I mean, even in mortgages and liens, you're going to have people like first, you know, the prime mortgage, but then you might have a second and a third and a fourth mortgage. They're going to be fighting each other for money. The bankruptcy cost and cleanup, they get paid. But then you get to priority unsecured things. Like you don't have any security interest. Wages and taxes, general secured, unpaid bills. So like if you're a vendor for a company and they go under and you did the HVAC work, you did their air conditioning, or you did electrical work, or you sold them machinery, you might, depending on how you have security interest done or priority, you might or might not get money, depending on how well you did it. Or a even bigger example of all this stuff with the UCC is, let's say I contract to a bicycle company to make a bunch of bicycles for me. They make all the bicycles. I order 1,000 bicycles and they're working on them and like they're 90% done. And when it's done, they're going to ship the whole thing to me in one big package. They're going to load them all up on a truck and send it to me at 1,000 at a time. They're like at number 950 and they go bankrupt. Well, I come up there and say to the bankruptcy hearing, hey, those are my bikes I paid for. Not right now. It's all in the mix. That's the issue here. So ultimately, no, Bricks and Minifigs stole stuff here. Yeah, I agree. He was tracking he wasn't like he tracked his investment, but he could have done things probably better to protect himself. Colin, like making sure this was a corporate document, because if he sits there and think about it, the way that document is written, a lot of stuff is missing. If you were going to sell $65,000, if you're selling $100,000 of stuff, and you're working with a company and you're at the franchise and you're like, this doesn't look like a corporate document, are you just going to be like, well, hey, it just seems like this is all kind of, willy-nilly. Oh, well, no, you're going to be like, whoa. Let's make sure this is right. I mean, yeah, when the money's rolling in, everybody's happy. But that's the only time you're like, well, no money today. Oh, no. No, like the time to prepare is I want to know these documents and I want this sorted out. So J-Rock saying it was a franchise, not a corporate store. I understand that. But even when you are a franchise, you still have to use, generally speaking, corporate documents. The idea that Bricks and Minifigs as a corporation with franchisees didn't have here's the consignment form you would use. That's preposterous to me. That's not how they operate, though. And that's because BAM is fucking stupid. That's how BAM should operate. But these are things, you guys, if you're ever in a situation like this, that's a red flag. That should be a red flag. You say, why don't they have corporate documents? Like, how does BAM know I'm doing this? Does corporate know this is a real thing? Because let's say the franchise goes bottom up tomorrow. And they, let's say they really aren't, I'm not buying they weren't making payments, but franchises fail all the time and corporate has to come in. Is that really what you want? Is that how this should be done? No, you should really be making sure. Once again, it's $100,000 of your hard-earned money. You should really fucking be investigating how that's going to get used. If I give the money to Charles Schwab, okay. But I've got the SEC, the Federal Trade Commission. I've got all kinds of things I could watch in my back. You're handing over a bunch of fucking Legos of fucking Yoda and Chewbacca and the Millennium Falcon. I was going to say the Aluminum Falcon like on Robot Chicken. It's what's the Aluminum Falcon? You've got to be on top of this. You got to be on top of this, guys. Big T saying, easy to say this all in hindsight. Yeah, but this is for you guys. This is education. How you should do this in the future for yourself. Don't do what these guys did. Use them as a great example of things. I wrapped my takeout into an aluminum Falcon. Their background is scamming. They don't care. I understand that, but I'm talking about the Mancells. If you're in their shoes, you should really make sure. You're basically, when you hand the stuff over for consignment, you really need to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's. Think about it. It's a $100,000 business deal. Were there any lawyers involved? Think about it like that. It's $100,000. Not even think about Legos. It's $100,000. You're buying. You're investing $100,000, and you're just yeah, whatever. No. Do it the right way. Be smart about it. Be smart about it. That's really the biggest thing I think we can all learn from this. And yeah, at the end of the day, fuck BAM, fuck the McNeffs, but so much you can do here. Yeah, be responsible. Duh. Yeah, but you can learn to deal responsible. And that's the thing. Yeah, this is a real level of money. And all these guys just did was, oh, I go pick up a check and check call one, I go pick up money. Like, it's once again, if it wasn't for dickheads like them, there wouldn't be thievery in the world. Half the internet is now better at law, getting UCC filing. I mean, it's helpful, but once again, ultimately, you guys just have to be smart about what you do. That's really my own advice at this point. I don't want someone to steal my Legos in the future. Well, there's that too, but also it's would a blanket UCC filing cover the entire collection? Would you need to add an itemized list? I think what I would recommend you do is you would file the UCC filing with your initial list. And these guys had an initial, where is it? Hold on here. There was an initial list. There was an initial, hold on, where is it? Yeah, here we go. There was a whole inventory list of everything that got sent. Now, would I attach that? Yes. Would I update it every time? Probably not, because then you have to pay to refile and amend. And the fact you have that whole list is enough to put people on notice and give you some priority. So I don't think you would, but I would double check with an attorney where you live, because the UCC is important, but your state law may have additions to the UCC, or it may change certain things in the UCC. The UCC is out there. Not every state accepts every part of the UCC either. States can willingly and voluntarily adopt it, but they don't have to. So check where you live and talk to an attorney where you live is my recommendation there. Can a consumer protection agency help him? Maybe. I mean, but the problem is, like, you're in Utah, so it's like the Utah Attorney General's office. I mean, I talked to, like, the Oregon Attorney General. Like, they might want to get involved. They might not. Like, would the Federal Trade Commission want to get involved? No, not anything like that. No, not at that point. Heathen Girl says, fuck the police. That's never an incorrect statement. Let's see. Yeah, and Pure Wienerstein, yeah, this could happen for an estate sale. This could happen in a lot of different things in life. People, $100,000 is a lot of money to steal. John's Burner says, no contract would have mattered. Well, no, you're correct at that point, but here's the thing. The contract would have mattered in the sense of, if this had came to me, I would have said, this doesn't smell right. I would not do this with these people. If you have $100,000 of Legos, go fucking fence them yourself, or find a different organization to sell them through, because that consignment agreement was really kind of sketchy. So it's more about identifying the red flags. But yes, at the end of the day, any contract is that way. If the opposing party in a contract says, fuck you, I'm not adhering to it, I'm breaching it, sue me. I mean, I've had clients, I've been on the side of the person getting screwed, but I've also been the party where my client's like, hey, Sean, I'm intentionally breaching this contract today, and just going boom and blowing it up. And you're like, why? And they tell you, and you're like, okay. I'm like, I don't know if I'd recommend this, but you do you, girlfriend. And they go ahead and intentionally breach a contract, and you're like, sometimes you're like, well, this kind of worked. Your client tells the other guy, fuck you, sue me, and then the other guy doesn't do it. And you're like, okay, it worked. The other times you're like, yeah. So it all depends. I agree, though. It's just more about, how do you guys avoid this here? Blowing a contract can be cheaper sometimes. Definitely can. It's a fucked up cost analysis. Yeah, but it happens. It happens. What is the other? Oh, I forgot to. We forgot to get into this here. This is the. I forgot to cover this. This is um, the Bricks and Minifigs suing Reckless Ben, and Brian Mansell, the Mansells, who own the Legos. So what are they suing for? Well, this is where it gets kind of funny. So this is Bricks and Minifigs suing Ben and the Mansells. Now, what are they doing here? So they're bringing up that, there was a private dispute with some of the things that were going on. And they're trying to claim that this stuff became inventory. And this is part of, they start referencing like the security agreements. And remember, as a franchise and franchisee, the way it all works, they have security interests and agreements in certain things. So it's kind of like McDonald's. Like, yeah, you become a franchisee, but while you're before you become completely self-sufficient on it, especially for the first, good while, like for McDonald's or any like fast food chains, they own your soul basically. They own your soul like lock, stock, and barrel, and they have access to a lot of stuff here. Did you pay for the inventory? No, then pay up. I agree, but that's, they were hoping nobody would be able to do it. And yeah, that's the thing too. They're not denying the contract. Yep, they're not denying the contract. Yeah, and this is the contract that they're arguing, the franchisee contract, and this becomes an issue of like what contract is superior to the other. And there's security agreements and there's priority here, and that's where it becomes an issue. So once again, remember, you guys are talking about, well, that's not how corporate. This is why you need to know, are these things integrated into the corporate structure? And this consignment agreement wasn't integrated into that. Notice it didn't reference the security agreement. It didn't reference APA Section 3. It doesn't have anything in that. So that's why that contract is dog shit. The consignment agreement, it doesn't reference things that may govern it and govern how this agreement operates. And there are bigger things out there, like their franchise agreement. None of that was in that. And that's, once again, the problems I have and red flags that are out there. The Mansells didn't know, but that's because they didn't know and they didn't bother to check. So once again, guys, this is how you protect yourself. How you protect yourself going forward. It sounds like a pawn shop relationship. I mean, consignments are. I mean, to an extent, it kind of is. But pawn shops are they don't fuck you over as much as BAM is right now. And J-Rock, I agree. It's not inventory. I agree. But once again, they had a consignment agreement that didn't reference anything else that was there. And they're considering it's inventory. Now, obviously, the problem is they acknowledge that the consignment existed. They acknowledge stuff existed. And they also made an offer of well, here's some of the stuff we found. We'll give you $5,000 back. So they acknowledge that they had a bailment. They acknowledge they had this guy's property. Yeah, so, I mean, BAM is not going to survive this at the end of the day. Even in mediation arbitration, they're going to take in the shorts. Unoriginal DNA says the franchisee contracts do reference the ability to co-sign, though. Yes, but your consignment contract, the consignment agreement did mention the franchising agreements. That's the problem. Because, how does all that work? Yeah, and this was a mess from the start. This was a disaster waiting to happen. There's also an issue of Brian Manzell's there in the room cooking up things. Yeah, but I'm not really too worried about that. You fuck somebody out of $100,000. You're I'm going to give the Mansells, they kind of get a free pass on committing gay ops because they got $100,000 stolen from them. The McNeff stole $100,000. I'm kind of they get a free one. I agree, J-Rock. Inventory goes on the balance sheet. Consigned goods don't. I agree. Bob Johnson says, "Are you heading to the Delmarva Peninsula area this year?" No. Just, it's been a couple of years, but no, I'm not going to be on the Delmarva Peninsula. That's the eastern shore of Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia, Chad, if you didn't know. BAM is going to collapse their business over this. I know, but you know what, Chad? The neat thing is when BAM goes under, all that stuff I talked about with priority and all the people with different interests in their order, we're going to see all that happen. So that's the fun part. You're going to see the UCC in action. But yes, they would have a separate sheet that would, Cool Channel Name says who drafted the contract. Presumably, based on the way it's looking, I'm betting that was drafted or created by the people at the Oregon franchisees. So the people that ran the Oregon shop initially, the Antifa people, I'm assuming they created it because it doesn't seem like a corporate level document. I believe Brian claimed he had a lawyer for the contract signings, but not every lawyer is as good as you, Sean. I can't. Then I'd sue that lawyer for malpractice if I'm Brian. I can't imagine Brian really had a lawyer for this. It's like, people are going to say that so they don't sound like fucking idiots. So, how many little people are getting screwed? Well, that's a problem. And that's why when you're little, you need to protect yourself as much as possible. And you have to wrap yourself up in as much of the law as you can and utilize as much of the law as you can to protect yourself. Caper says the disaster, he's going to get fully paid out from the GoFundMe. Now it's worked out, but there's also a good chance this could have happened and nobody gave a shit. And in the meantime, this whole case over the past couple of years has probably been hell on earth. So I'm sure every day that kid is woken up with like a stab in his gut thinking, oh my God, my dad put this nest egg together and I fucking lost it. So it is a disaster for the family. This is exactly what I've been saying. We've been saying the same thing, Stabby. They're the reason why they have an unlocked Foot Locker. Let me see here. Yeah, Google drafted the contract, probably, or ChatGPT. Let's see here. BAM is possibly going to take all the GoFundMe dollars. I haven't gotten that far yet, Runkle. Are you saying because of like the conspiracy stuff? Maybe. It could. I know there's some gay ops that are going on there. He'll get to sell the rights to his story. I mean, what rights? Like, this is like Karen Reed. Like, everybody seemed to think Karen Reed was going to make like a bunch of dollars off of it. Karen Reed probably made a couple 100,000, if not maybe $1 million plus off selling her story. But like these guys, how much money do you think these guys like? How much do you think like Netflix isn't going to buy your story? You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't think you're going to get like, this isn't a Lifetime movie thing. So yeah, that becomes a problem for you. That's really kind of the issue here. He's already sold a documentary to Hulu before. Are you talking about Reckless Ben? I mean, yeah, Reckless Ben may have some money out there, but But like the Mansells aren't going to be able to sell any money. Like, and the idea you could do that, it's like you might not get any next time around. Donovan says Kieran Reed didn't try to tell her story. She sold, like, yeah, she did. They're going to do, like, there's a reason why Kieran Reed hasn't done, like, interviews. And part of that is because she's, like, the rights of her story. Like, there was a whole sale for that. Like, she signed book deals and stuff like that. I mean, granted, she's broke as a joke and she needs the money, and I think she has every right to do it. But I'm just pointing out as an example, like, she didn't walk away from this like a gajillionaire. So, but yeah, let's get to the rest of this here real quick, chat. Runkle, I know you're there, and if you're pulling your hair out, Runkle, I'm sorry. But anyways, they go through all of this, and they're trying to use all of the they list everything out here, but they point out that oh God, I hate using this. And they say upon information and belief, everything was initially valued in the range of $80,000, which was later reduced by its cost value to $30,000 or less to $60,000. Now, notice this is them trying to minimize it. I think, and it's the way it was initially worded here, like you get about 65%. So it's about $100K. But notice they're trying to make it seem like it's even less. But as we get through all this, and like, here's the stuff we get to. They start getting the YouTube videos. Now, saying I tracked down the thief who stole $200,000 of Lego. You're allowed to say these people are thieves. But yes, if you start chumming it up with people, you have to be careful because you could start co-signing problems for yourself. But yes, these guys did steal Legos. Bricks and Minifigs are thieves of the highest regard. Now, when you do stuff like this, it sounds funny and cheeky, chat, but when you put stuff out there like this, you kind of like set yourself up for problems. You set yourself up for problems, like, because it's no longer funny. Like, that becomes a problem. Like, you have to be smart about what you're doing. But yes, they're being accused of harassing and intimidating and interfering with the business of these people. They have Patreon videos out there, and that's part of the problem for Reckless Ben. He does a lot of goobery douchebag stuff that make it way past the thing here, and like that he was trespassing, and all these different things. So, like, yes, they may be in the right that Bam stole stuff, but once again, you're liable for being a big fucking dickhead and causing other torts. Okay, great. They have to pay the $100,000, but you're liable for other things. And this is one of the big ones here. He obtained signatures off pretenses. He did a counterfeit raffle, gift certificates, trespassing, and did all kinds of stuff. And this becomes an issue about how they do this. Obviously they're going to sell this the hardest way possible to the courts. But yeah, like if, oh, we're going to blow it up. Well, they're going to do everything here to make you look like they're crazy. And this is how this works. But yes, this here, for most Lego stolen, that is kind of funny when they did that for the, but they used false documents, and that's a thing here where, Ben did a delivery. He claimed to be like FedEx and was delivering something and had the lady sign for it. And he's like, haha, this is a document saying I can now, I'm allowed to trespass on your property again. You can't do that. That becomes an issue. You can't be retarded about that like that. That's what you can win the battle and lose the war. And this becomes some of the stuff here, the absolute non-trespass covenant. And then this is where Ben kind of like, we're going to, have a joke and a smoke. And, he comes in and says, I got a delivery. He has people sign. And yeah, this looks bad. Like, it makes you look like a big fucking asshole. So you have to be smart about what you do, guys, because once again, you're trying to get a court to say, hey, we like what you're doing here. We think you have a case. I thought signatures are binding. So here's the thing, Happily Simmer. If I give you a document and I say, here, just sign it and read it. This covers X, Y, and Z. Great. And you sign it. You might still be held liable for it. But if I show up and I tell you, hey, man, this is just an agreement for you agree to do you not realize Ben is an A-log in IRL? I mean, yes, I do, but I'm trying to be nice. Not everybody may understand the A-log thing here. But let's say I give you a document and it says, hey, man, you're agreeing to make lasagna for me every first Monday of the month for the next 5 years. And just sign here, and if you don't, you owe me $100 every month that you don't do it. Okay, so you sign it. But in reality, it's actually you signing me over title to your house. That's deceptive. I can't do that to you. That's where it becomes an issue. Yes, it's the misrepresentation of what he did before. Let's see here, guys. This is so hard to do when I can't look at two screens at once. Oh, is this what Bronca said too? I mean, I didn't know. I didn't get to see what Bronca did. He wasn't trespassing, attempting to serve papers. You don't generally serve your own papers. You have somebody do it for you. You can't serve papers for yourself generally. Yeah, legal and right are two different things. Yep. There's the law and then there's what's right. And they're not always the same. It's kind of like there's the hit. There is in history, there's history, and then there's what happened. They're not always the same thing. Sometimes they're two separate things. So he was reckless and smart. All you law tubers be like, oh my God, he trespassed. Well, if he wasn't allowed to be on the property, then he shows up and fucking around, then yeah, he's not supposed to be on the property, man. Yes, I mean, yes. As a lawyer, I'm telling you, don't trespass. If somebody's told you, don't come on my property, yes, my advice to you as an attorney is don't go on their property. It's a shocker. I know. It's a shocker, isn't it? That is the big thing here. Don't be a goober. But as we go through this, this is, they talk about the raffle thing that was involved in this. Once again, a lot of the stuff really isn't a problem, but it's just you do enough of this that you girl boss a little too hard. You girl boss a little too hard. And that creates a problem. He did the store. He does all this stuff. Yes. Why do we steal from old people? The vomit bags. I do think they are funny. They just go through and they show all the stuff he did here. This idea of obstructing justice. That's them just trying to say, look how mean these people are here and what they're doing. As the rest of this goes, guys, there are some things here, though. But yeah, once again, if you girl boss too hard, you might have a problem. And let's get to the actual, what are the allegations here? From what I've understood with the RICO stuff, there might be a bit of an issue, but we'll see here. There's defamation problems. If you're calling people a thief, that can be defamation. It's defamation per se. You better be able to back it up. I think they can back it up, but in the meantime, you're going to have to sue and you're going to have to fight for it. What is first cause of action? The RICO here. So they're claiming that these guys all conspired together for a pattern of unlawful activity. They did a bunch of stuff here. They did defamation, false light, theft by deception by doing the raffle thing that he was doing here. That they were using BAM branding, that they impersonated the UPS guy to obtain signatures on the property. They engaged in theft. by extortion, saying that, and this one's not really like you better pay or we'll make it worse. Okay, well, but they're using all the stuff they do here, though. This is where it can be a problem. And yes, you have to be careful about how much you do gay ops with people because eventually it can become a problem for you. And ultimately, Ben and them may win, but you're going to have to fight a long, long battle. Like this is all just begun. Defamation against co-defendants. The defamation claims everybody there. That the injurious falsehood and trade disparagement and false light. Ben and these guys played a big kid game, and these guys are going to come and swing back at you. And you kind of get what happens. Civil conspiracy. I think the civil conspiracy stuff is usually nonsense, but maybe they've got enough. I know Runkle's saying he thinks they do, and I kind of defer to him on that because, like I said, he's probably been this a lot more than I have. Let me see here. Yeah, don't read it too close to the sun. Yeah, and this is the thing here. So the second you're told to leave and you don't, that's trespassing. That's how it works. Are you allowed to be here? No, that's trespassing. So I'm there to serve papers. You can't serve the papers. If he was invited back, does that invalidate it? I mean, it all depends on how it's being done, but I would tell you the way Ben is doing stuff and he shows up and is trying to be the UPS guy and all this crap, I think it clearly shows that he probably realized he didn't have permission. So if I had to guess. Did I show the leaked PD body cam yet? No. But yes, I know Runkle did a big deep dive on this, and I might talk to Runkle, see if I missed anything here. But ultimately, guys, you got to be careful. But, what are they looking for here? Injunctive relief. They want unjust enrichment, disgorgement of the profits. And this is where they're going for, the GoFundMe and everything, the Patreon fees, and all the money that, has been gained out of this. And they're going to try to take it all. They want YouTube revenue, subscriptions, super chats, everything. And they want to take all that money from these guys. Yeah, these BAM guys are playing hard. And, whether or not they win is still a separate thing here. David says, I don't care about his stream. Yes, I do. Lazul says, I haven't watched all the evidence, but still has an opinion. I mean, what am I supposed to say? I've seen a bunch of it. He's going to crush the company and make himself rich doing it. He would not get anything done by being by the book Ben. No, but once again, do you have to do everything? Yeah, sure, he wins, but 3 years from now and a couple $100,000, maybe $1 million later, imagine if you'd not just done everything the way you did it. Am I on a laptop? Yes. Yeah, this is the laptop. This is all I've got for right now. We'll see, though. We'll see what happens. Why does it cost so much to be right in this country? Because that's how it is. I don't know how else to explain it. Bennett said he's been sued over every video is made except the one about the cult. Maybe he has, but who knows? We don't really know yet. Runkle says if he loses this, he ends up broke. Yeah, but who knows if he is going to lose this. But remember, guys, if he loses this, well, we might not have anything for 2.5, 3 years. Does Ben really got the stamina to go that long? Does he have the money to go that long? Bricks and Minifigs looks like they'll set their entire business model on fire to win this battle. They'll burn their ships. Can you burn yours? Do you even have a ship to burn? That is the calculus you have to take into account here. They have an entire division of men they're willing to throw into the meat grinder. What do you have at your disposal that you can afford to sacrifice? So it's just, there's a lot here that you have to think about. He won't be broke. He's only growing in popularity. I mean, how much popularity, though? I mean, that's the thing. Like, the amount of money, like, is he going to start making PewDiePie money? I mean, because, like, how much money do you think he's actually making? Ben Lay said he spent his last $500 on his he spent his last $500 on his last trip to Utah. Well, there you go. Let's see here. Bam has already burned it to the ground. They're just spending good money after bad. Well, of course they are, because it's too late now for them. So like I said, they're going to burn their ships because it's too late. There's no coming back for them. So they'll burn it all. They'll burn it all down. They'll spend every dollar because remember, at the end of the day, it's all corporate money. So it's not like they're going to lose their money. Their money's protected. They're going to use the corporation's money. Is he with Ethan Ralph now? Let's see here. Civil rights will do the heavy lifting. Large payout lawyers for free. I mean, here's the thing, Dan Ross. The heavy lifting, and there's going to be a lot of money, a large payout. What's your idea of a large payout? Because, for example, Patrick Tomlinson is a lolcow on the internet. He got swatted like 50 times. And the Milwaukee police kept on like basically kicking his door in and dragging him out at gunpoint. Like even well after like time 35 of it happening, and they knew it was fake. Illegally searching his home, doing all kinds of things. And they just settled for $575,000. This idea that there's settlements out there, I don't know how much, like, I mean, that's a lot of money. Yeah, I'd take $575,000. But, like, what do you think is a large payout? Because it's not like he's walking out of here with, like, $20 million. Just, that's all I'm trying to say here. You really don't think Ben's going to have something to do in years? I don't know. The internet's a fickle bit. The internet's fickle. Text Worski tonight so you can get on Keno Casino to defend Ohio buffets. I've never seen better content. Yeah, and you never got where you are taking risks. Sure. But what is that actually going to turn into? Is that going to pan out into for him? So the band franchisee snitched. I have heard that, but those franchisees are getting killed. Like everybody's, yeah. Let me see here. What am I looking for? Damn, I cannot keep up with this thing. So, I'd argue the franchisor, meaning BAM, is in breach of the franchise agreement by brand waste or some other crap. Gather every single franchisee in class action. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. 100%. Because as a franchisor, you have a obligation to do certain things. Like they have contracts and they have good faith and fair dealing, and ruining that ruins the business. Yeah, definitely could be. Every franchisee needs to lawyer up and break away. I mean, that's going to be tough, but I bet it could. I bet they could. There's always, lawfare is an option, chat. Where there's a will, there's a way. So we got to catch up on some super chats and stuff here, guys. I didn't realize we were this late on things. John T. for $5 saying, Shuley versus Melendez complaint just filed in Northern Alabama. Seeking, among other things, a declaratory judgment that goofing on Stuttering John does not infringe upon his copyright. I mean, yeah, that is a good one. I'll take a look at that. I didn't know that got filed, but yeah, there we go. Fair Frozen 55 for $5 says, also talk about how you never trust a Mormon. Well, that's not true. A lot of Mormons are good people. High Plains Drifter for $5 says, love you, Sean. You rock. Can you direct me towards a Washington state lawyer to get my gun rights restored? Cop to a felony 28 years ago. Minor stuff. I don't know of anybody off the top of my head. I would say, honestly, if you really want to talk to somebody, talk to the Washington gun law guy here on YouTube. I think that's somebody I would start with and kind of go from there. Let me see if I can bring this up. If you don't know who I'm talking about, this is the guy I'm talking about here, William Kirk. I would talk to this guy. You know, he might be able to help you. If he can, he might be able to tell you who can. But he runs the Washington Gun Law YouTube channel. But this is him. He does, stuff out in he does stuff out in Washington, so I would talk to him. He does talk about restoring rights, so, getmyrightsback.com. Is this going to be enough to help you? Check him out. Check him out here. This might be enough to help you get your rights restored. I would talk to him and see what he could do for you. If you're still here, by the way. Sorry it took so long to get to this. So, yeah, he could be an option for you. That's who I'd recommend because I don't know any better out there. Fair Frozen says, 4508 Titan XP, my beloved. I could never get it. Funny. Radcon Hazard for $5 says, remember a lawyer about complaining about having to help with a divorce case where they ended up having a judge split up their Beanie Baby collection? Yeah. They had to go up and you grab one and then you grab one, you grab one, you grab one, you grab one. Yeah, people will fight in divorces over all kinds of shit. I had a client once where he was fighting over this projection screen TV, this big, massive TV that he had forever. And it was it was old, but it was still pretty good. And it was huge. And, he wanted it. I'm like, he was fighting over it. I'm like, dude, why don't you just buy a 55-inch flat screen? He's like, what do you mean? And I pull up my phone and I'm like, here, 55-inch flat screen at Walmart. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's a lot cheaper. And you don't have to move a TV that could fall over and kill you. Leave that for your wife to deal with. He's like, oh, that's a good idea. You can do that. You can be like, look, man, you're fighting over stuff. Here's the Sunday flyer. Price out the furniture. Do you really want to fight over that shit? No. Start over. Brand new house with your girlfriend. Buy some furniture. Buy brand new shit. And you're like, that's how you handle it. Mr. Squiggles has been a member for 44 months. God, it's a long time. Thank you, man. Good to see you, by the way. Brick by brick, chat. Brick by brick. And then living in Stoog's walls temporarily. By the way, chat, the Stoog 3 got to stretch its legs out on the wargaming table this past weekend. Caused a lot of fucking damage. Let me tell you what. Is a new member. Thank you. And then Seabolt Adelbert Smithers says, BAM is crooked as hell and they have destroyed their $400 million company over $200,000. Yeah, yep. In reality, though, the Mansell said, if we got our $65K or whatever, it's even worse. They destroyed their company for $65,000. The malcontent for $5 Australian dues. Legal Mindset did tear apart Ben for being dumb, but this is all kinds of shady. The civil rights lawyer interviewed Ben. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the police did a lot of shady shit to him, but, that doesn't mean, he is without sin. So, Aaron Proxy says co-owner came on camera stating they would take the liability on the consignment without carrying any weight. Yeah, it does. Carries a lot of weight. I've seen that video from the that camera that was set up in the back when all the they got kicked out officially. Liggy Soft says, why Rico a dumb YouTuber guy if the lawsuit will cost more than his net worth? You're not getting your money back. Because people are stupid. Because they're dumb. They think they're going to win. But also remember, they're not going to get their money back, but they've destroyed their company. So it's Leroy Jenkins time. It's YOLO time. If you want to know about it, January 6th, 2.0 for $9.99 says, what sus is in the collection was in consignment for 2 years. How much was the collection sold? Were there payments? It's not clear. Something both the owners and BAM can prove. No, there were payments. Like they came in, but you're not going to sell all of it at once. It takes a long time to sell all that crap because you need people who want that thing. This user is 404. It says, Vince McMahon, I'm bricked up, bringing out the poo. Yes. The Malcontent says, for $5 more dollary doodles, we've already established the owner of scumbags. Look at us why they didn't settle and why they took it this far. Because they're scumbags. There's also the issue of just human psychology. You start doubling down, and when you realize you're wrong, you just double down and double down and double down and double down and double down. And there's no stopping. They're in a cope spiral. Living in Stug's walls temporarily says for $2, no back of napkin and graven stone. The old ways are best. Yes. Yes. EDW Raptor says the Mormons are famous for circling the wagons and getting rid of those passing through. Yep. God, there's that one movie, the Rainbow Meadow Massacre or wherever, where they killed the wagon train coming through. But even then, it's just any communities like that. You go to Appalachia, that'll happen. Come out to Northeast Ohio. I could show you a couple places that'll happen. You don't have to get that far outside of Cleveland. Even in Cleveland, neighborhood will circle around people. It's just it's are you part of the in-group? It is in our DNA. We protect our own and those we care about. SW42MG for $2 says, never mind civil. The unlawful stops and extensions wild. Yeah, I agree. They were wrong. They shouldn't have happened like that. Erica Thorpe's been a member for 19 months. Says suspenders snap. You're welcome, UDW. Yeah, there you go. Bob Tube for $5 Australian dues says, Sean, remember to watch out for big yellow excavators on your drive to Florida. Well, it wasn't an excavator, it was a front end loader. But yes, watch out for farm machinery when you're driving down the road texting or huffing Galaxy gas. Caper 1144 for $13.99 Canadian. That is, chat, 14 loonies or 7 toonies. Thank you. Then Scott WD for $9.99. Thank you, Scott. If you guys, here we go. CEO goes on the podcast, claims he want to make Brian whole. Then 3 days later files this. Yes, these people, there are some podcast footage out there. Reckless Ben has all that. They go on podcasts saying all kinds of shit. And it says, today we hear him on camera making false statements to police. Seems they'll have issues of credibility. Yeah, that's all going to be discovery. That'll be perfect in depositions. Yeah, these guys are going to have the depositions for these, the McNeffs is going to be brutal. They are going to have a rough time. But once again, that all costs money. So getting there is half the battle. The Heavy Pendulum says, honestly, BAM stealing from Soyjack Redditors is very funny and based. This whole case is Reddit coded. Hordes of man-children crying over Legos. Yeah, but I mean, think about it like this. Let's say it was, and I'm not trying to make fun of you, but let's think about it. Let's say it was parts, like let's say you collect parts from Ford Mustangs, and you collect like Fox body Ford Mustang parts, so like through the 80s. I mean, like that's your thing. Or you collect like Leatherman knives, or you collect all the versions of Arisaka rifles that are out there. There's like a million variants. Or you collect like M1 Garands, like all the different variations, like gas trap Garands, and like International Harvester, and you have like the Italian ones, and you have a Breda and a Beretta, and you've got this, you've got that, and boom, and boom, boom, boom. There's like a million different things you could do. Or you have like, you end up trying to get a hold of like all the different like M1 carbines. Like you have an Inland Paper and Mill, an IBM. Yes, that IBM in World War II. You have a Raccola Jukebox Company M1 carbine. Like, it's just whatever it is you collect. So I would just say that to give you some pause there. That's all I would say. Spud gun for £2 sterling. The King Sterling says, when is your last Ohio stream? Tomorrow night. And also, hello. Yes, hello. And guys, if you are new, I think some of you are new here. I am an attorney in Ohio. I'm moving to Florida. Though my better half, going to follow the job. So I will be licensed in Florida at some point in the future. But I do a show every week, Thursday nights at 9:30. Why is it not working? 9:30 Eastern time. We cover all kinds of stuff. There are things that are going on out there. The lawyers in North Carolina that got shot last week is interesting. A judge here in Cleveland got sent to jail for 60 days for getting caught altering and doing a false judgment entry. There's the stuff out of the UK where the kid got stabbed, and the police kept him handcuffed as he died and bled out. There's a superseding indictment for the Southern Poverty Law Center, and there's already issues about that having been leaked, among other things. And there's also some other legal stories we'll get to, but we do that on Thursday nights. It's generally a fun time. If you're new, I hope to see you there. Let's see here. Yes, Henry Nowak, yes. I was going to save his name till then, but countdown to reunification with Clyde in 2.0. Oh, very much so. I miss them a lot. I wish I could be there right now. I miss them a lot. I miss 2.0 so very much. She was gone for a couple weeks back in May, so it's like over the past month and a half, she's been gone for like over half of it. And then Clyde and Laney and Brody, they're all gone. So yeah, it'll be fun. Saturday morning is my goal. I leave here about 10 o'clock on Friday morning. And I'll drive till, I don't know, probably 9, 10 o'clock, go to sleep, wake up early, and finish like the last 5 hours. It's a 15-hour drive. So get to Florida around like 10, 11 in the morning. So that'll be my game plan. Let's see here. Capers is my first ever super chat. Well, thank you. You're a good guy. I don't know if I go that far, but I appreciate it. Glad I could support. Well, thank you. I appreciate anything and everything. I mean, really right now, this right here is support. You type in a comment, supports, giving a like, supports, subscribing, supports, whatever it is. Carmelo with an all-white jersey. Really? I'm surprised there was no Batson challenge. Well, maybe there wasn't a Batson challenge. Guys, Batson challenges are a case, Batson versus Kentucky, or Kentucky versus Batson, where if you are a minority and there are minorities on your jury, the prosecutor's striking them all off your jury. He has to explain non-racist reasons for doing it. And when I was a prosecutor, I had this issue because I had a guy I was prosecuting who was he was from Honduras, and I had to kick the guy off the jury, and he was Hispanic. And I had to do the defense team did a Batson challenge, and I had to articulate why. And I said, based off and I actually had to not just say because I wanted to, but I had to make some reasons. Court's yeah, good enough reasons. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think Carmelo's kind of toast though. Let's see here. I miss Clyde. I miss him too. Dirty Eric for $5 says, yeah, Mike, Law Talk with Mike wants to sit down and have a cigar and a whiskey with Judge O'Donnell. Oh, out here in Lake County. He's actually a very nice, I've enjoyed practicing in front of him. I mean, the thing is, though, that sucks in this county I live in. It's Lake County, Ohio. It's the one directly east of Cuyahoga County. The judges here, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but compared to Cleveland, they hand out fucking plane tickets. People understand if you get in trouble in Lake County, you go to prison. And you know what? Honestly, as Sean, the guy who lives in Lake County, I love the fact that judges send people to prison because, I don't want them here fucking around in my county. As the lawyer, Sean, it's it sucks a lot. But as Sean, the guy who pays taxes and has to live in Lake County, I fucking love it. So it's very much, it's the duality of man. It's the Jungian thing. Like Private Joker once told us. But no, I'll reach out to Mike. But no, Judge O'Donnell is great. But all the judges here are great. Anti-Rice GT says, I've had 17 of the Fox bodies. I also have Jeeps. Currently a YJ, but many XJs. Well, there you go. I'm going to melt in Florida. I probably will. Hello, David. Is it over? Yes, we're pretty much done here. Let's see. Just Sean the microwave in the kitchen echo. Yeah, well, the entire house is empty. I mean, there's... Can we get a driving stream? Yeah, I'm going to do I don't know if I'm going to do a stream here on YouTube, but I might in Discord be there, or I might do it here on YouTube and somebody's on stream with me answering or reading out questions. We may do that. I'll talk to 2.0 and see if she's available. Let's see here. I thought Carmelo had someone kicked off the jury for saying they could never convict him. Well, if you're saying there's no way you could be held, you always ask this, though, when you're doing jury selection, especially with the prosecution. You're does anybody believe, because there are people who believe this, ethically they can't stand in judgment of another person. They think religiously they can't do it. You get those people off the fucking jury if you're a prosecutor. Just go on. I will also tell you, Chad, if you ever mention you're constitutionally minded, prosecutors immediately, most of the time, are going like this, and they're you'll see them and they'll go, huh? You'll see them, oh, really interesting, sir. And then they're drawing a line through you, getting rid of you. So don't ever mention the word Constitution. Just a free tip. When you say it and I'm the defense attorney, I'm fuck yeah. And then I'm oh no, they're going to get called. They're going to get dismissed. So be careful. Be careful. Let me see here. Catching up for you guys. Cowabunga County? No, Cuyahoga County. Cuyahoga, where the river caught fire. Yes, they are trying to equate Carmelo Anthony to Kyle Rittenhouse. No, Sean, not the loader. Let me see here. When you guys... Am I doing a Bucky stream? No. Are we going to watch the South Carolina versus the Ricky Chow guy? Yes. I mean, that's something I'd like to do once we get down there. Keep in mind, though, guys, we already have to get to... we're going to have Aaron Spencer coming up as well. But yeah, we'll cover that one. Because he fucking smokes the guy, and it's based. Alert One says, "Are you going to miss Judge Irochi?" Yeah, I will. Judge Irochi is a very good judge. I know people, you guys like to tune into him because he yells and can get loud, but he's actually a very fair judge. He runs a great drug court. It's called Recovery Court with him, though. I mean, if he really is. He wants to make his, like, he grew up in Conneaut. He wants to make it a better place, and he really tries. Um, and that's the thing. Like, I know people see him on the YouTube clips, and that's how they look at him. But no, he's actually a really good judge to be in front of. He used to be the county prosecutor for a while. No, he's a very good judge. Very good judge. Yeah, there's a lot of good judges out here. I'm very lucky. Especially like here in Northeast Ohio. There are some judges I'm not fond of, but like there's none of them that are bad right now. There was one or two that were, but they're all gone now. But no, over the past 6 years, I've been very fortunate, and it makes it easy for me to do my job. It makes it easier to do my job. It allows me to be able to give clients like a consistent answer and a reasonable one. Like I could say, here's what's probably going to happen. But no, yeah, Judge Irochi is a very good one to be in front of. Let me see here. Don't bring up jury nullification. Let me see here. What else we got? I can't believe you're leaving Ohio. Well, I have to. A juror admitted after being selected he could never convict because of his age. What a dumbass. What a dumbass. I'm like, you should be held in contempt for that. Let's see here. Would I ever want to be a judge? I mean, like, they get paid good. I don't know about in Florida. I'm assuming so as well. I mean, there's a lot of times I think that would be good. You can kind of shape things in your own ways based on like how you make rulings and then how you sentence and stuff like that. You have more power in the system. But there's also a judge I was in front of for a while, Judge Nick Salvaggio. He's a judge down in Southern Ohio. And he had spent, basically like 20 years as like an assistant prosecutor and then as a county prosecutor and then became judge. And he says, though, he likes being judge, but he says when you're sitting there as the judge and he says like being a parent. He says like being a child, actually. And he says like being a kid because he knows that me as the prosecutor or defense attorney know something and then the prosecutor knows something and we're not telling him about it. Like we're trying to get something done and we don't want him to know what we know. We're not lying to him, but like we're trying to handle things our own way. He says it's like being a child. Your parents are telling you what they think you want to hear or need to hear, and you have to make an option for it. He says at times he says it kind of sucks. Like he's like, there's a lot of times I wish I was back on the other side. But then he says there's also a lot of times where I'm glad I'm over here. So, I mean, maybe at some point, I don't know if I'd be a good judge. And I don't know if that makes me a good candidate for judge, saying I don't know how good of a judge I would be. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would be the best judge in the world. I mean, I think it'd be interesting to try to do, or like be a magistrate for a while or something. Yeah. Judge Screamer, as Mike calls him. Oh, he's not that bad. My cat's name is Karen. Says Conneaut Lake Park, baby. Conneaut Lake. You have to be careful because there's a Conneaut Lake, Pennsylvania. There's a Conneautville. So no, you got to be careful about those different places. If I was BAM's head of legal, what would I do here? Oh God. How would you suggest they go about recovering? There's no recovering from this. They've already crashed and burned. I would have said pay these people out and move on. It's a tax write-off. And then there'd be a revamping of how we do consignments and all that stuff. So, oh, he had his lawyer on one of the podcasts with him. Man, um, did we get what we asked for in the house? Well, it's getting. They're coming by tomorrow to take the pictures. It's getting put up like ASAP, so it hasn't sold yet. Extremely happy Simmer says, "Why do you have to leave?" 2.0 got a promotion, and part of that entailed she had to be closer to corporate. So they're down in Florida. So we're going to Florida. I love 2.0. I want to marry her. We were engaged. We were set to get married she wanted, she has this thing about wanting to get married on Flag Day. It's like, all right, we can make that work. We were going to get married this summer, but right now that's kind of all on hold because we're moving like 1,000 miles. But no, I love her. She's an amazing woman. And yeah, we'll follow her. She's got kind of like a once in a lifetime thing happening for her, like a career opportunity. It's like, why would I not go with her? We gonna miss you. Well, I'll be here. I did apply to be a deportation judge, but I'm probably not going to get it. Let's see. Isn't the judge basically a referee at times? At times he is. County judge is 186 a year. Wow. That's like higher end. I mean, that's better pay than they make here in Ohio. So, all right, chat. Yeah, loving a woman's gay. Is she going to be the new CEO of JP Morgan Chase? Yes. She calls me. She'll get married on the 4th of July. Yeah, well. Yeah, well, that's the thing. 2.0 actually got promoted to an FBI field office, so that's why she's moving. Derek says, is there an epidemic of high-speed pursuit in Ohio? No, a lot of these court cases on YouTube are people with fleeing and evading. Well, that's actually called failure to comply with the signal of an officer. No, but just keep in mind, that's not everything you see in these counties. Like, you're only seeing some things. Also, a lot of places people run. It's just, it's what gets cited here. And police chases and running from the cops usually end up with like really good dash cam. And then when people are sitting in front of a judge trying to bullshit their way through a sentencing, hoping they don't go to prison, the bullshit arguments they make about why they ran or what they were doing can be rather hilarious. So, but thank you, Derek. Thank you for the question. Do you think you'll sell your house quickly? Yes. I told her it'll sell by my birthday. So we've got like 2 months. I think it'll sell. It's in a really good area. The eastern suburbs of Cleveland are very nice. If you're outside of even the suburbs in Cuyahoga County, like Solon, Gates Mills, Seven Hills, Pepper Pike, Beechwood, they're all very nice. But the ones out here in Lake County, East Lake kind of, but like, Willoughby Hills, Wickliffe, Willowick, Kirtland. What else is there? Waite Hills out, Cuyahoga County. But yeah, like a lot of these places aren't too bad. They're pretty good places to live. Trump needs thousands of DOJ lawyers. Yeah, but I wouldn't like it because they do a lot of dumb shit. And I wouldn't like doing some of the things they do. There's some stuff I do that I don't like. So I would not want to be a DOJ lawyer like that. I would not like it. My Nick Fuentes alt is found. Are there guards at the Alligator Alcatraz? That'd be funny. Let's see here. I'm surprised you never covered the Miami Township debacle, which you need to be more specific. I'm not sure. Grateful Bloom says, "What's 2.0?" Oh, you're a new person. Thank you for being here. Let me see. I need a thing. So my name is Sean Martin. Which okay. So my last name is Martin. I have a fiance. So she is the future Mrs. Martin. So FMM, future Mrs. Martin, 2.0. There was already a previous Mrs. Martin. So she's future Mrs. Martin 2.0. So people just call her for shorthand 2.0. I don't use her name because she likes to not have everybody know her name out there. And so that's why she's 2.0. And then when we get married, she'll be forever Mrs. Martin 2.0. Will you practice lawful law? Yes, in Florida, I will. Ben just lied to you about a warrant. Yeah, well, Ben had some issues. Like I said, he kind of stepped on his wiener. State says you sold mine in 4 days. Grateful Blues. Oh, okay, yeah, that's just her name because don't need the internet out there. How many bedrooms is the new house? Do you have an office? It's 4-bedroom, 2-bath. So like 2.0's got her office. I have my office. So we'll have a studio. We'll have a beat lab again. Am I going to start rooting for the Dolphins? Absolutely fucking not. Ian Dobbs says Ohio has some weird names. Yeah, there's Tuscarawas, Wyandotte. Yeah, there's all kinds of, Mommy. There's all kinds of Indian names out here. Remember, Ohio was like the frontier for like the first 100 years of America. Really, up until the Revolutionary War. Ohio was the frontier. Like the Wild West was Ohio. But yeah, a lot of Indian names. Am I going to form a Confederate regiment? No. How many years has she been future Mrs. Martin? I think like 2.5. Actually 2. Coming up. Ohio's tax code blows. It's not too bad. Florida's is better, no income tax, and maybe soon no property tax. So. Will you be a billboard lawyer like Peter Tragos? I mean, say what you want, dude, but no, fucking Pete and his dad and their other guy that is in their firm, they make fucking, dude. They fucking, hauling in the money, dude. So yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what I'll do when I get down there, but yeah, maybe. Does your news house have more outlets in the kitchen? Yes. There's only 2 Mantuas in Ohio. Yeah, Mantuas in Ohio. Yep, one in Ohio and one in New Jersey. Yep. Which Indian was Clyde, Ohio, named after? That's where Whirlpool makes washing machines. Yes, it's only for the first $250,000 if it passes. That's still pretty epic. Ohio's taxes aren't that bad, Trenton. They suck, but they're not like the worst. Yeah, Peter's, and that's the thing. Lawyer, Peter Tragos, his dad is. I like listening to his dad. His dad's pretty cool. But the other guy, Pete Sartellis or Sartis, that guy's pretty neat to listen to as well. How's the sales tax in Florida? I mean, it's high. And I gotta say, yeah, I mean, like, even if they're on billboards, like, they kick ass and, rake in money. So that's what they do. Yeah, New York has horrible taxes, yes. But hey, Debbie, how are you? I mean, 7.5%, it's still more than, but the tourism kind of leads to it. Nobody in my office wanted to touch Ohio or Michigan. Local taxes are paying to do returns for. And yes, the Julio Fulio case, they used brass catchers. Yeah, I think we saw this when it happened. Like, these dudes put in work. Yeah, and we'll watch that. I had a case a couple years ago where my client was involved in a shooting, and he was the lookout, and the dude who did the shooting had a 300 blackout pistol inside a duffel bag, and they just cut slits in the sides of it so he could grab it, and he just started shooting through a zipped up duffel bag, and they used the duffel bag as a brass catcher, and I thought it was pretty slick. And these were like 18-year-old kids doing it, and I was like, that's pretty like, where did they come up with that? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, that's pretty fucking slick. That was slick shit, man, let me tell you. Well, they also self-stitched in the Julio Fulio trial. Well, that'll be good. We'll take a look at it. It's pretty smart. It is. Although it didn't matter because they did it in broad daylight, and the dude's just, and the guy they were going for, he had a pistol off body in the wheel well of a car, and he reached down like it's like out in the wire, grabbed his pistol out on camera, and just pop, 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 and they turned that parking lot of the housing complex into a bullet festival. So keeping your brass doesn't matter when people know who you are and see you doing it. So. When you put all that effort into one part of the plan, yeah, and they shot up the parking lot and a couple of the apartment units. Thankfully, they didn't fucking kill anybody. 420 girl says mods. What? That's why my dad always taught me to shoot with a revolver. Yeah, well. Clean your rounds and wear gloves when you load. Just saying. That is true. That is true. You always clean up your, always wipe down everything. You can find fingerprints on ammunition all the time. Oh, yeah. Rest in peace, the Harrier. Yep, all done. No more Harriers in the Marine Corps. Being retired. No more Harriers, only F-35s. Which is sad, because they look cool. So seems to get the bench needs an last Ohio stream dumped to there. Well, we've already done the last Ohio stream. We did the last model stream. How to talk to your dog about gun safety? Yes, that's a big thing. The F-14 is better than the Harrier. I don't know about that. F-14 is cool, but the Harrier is neat. Well, yes, that is true. The Harriers, the people who actually had to work on Harriers said they were pieces of shit and bitches to work on. Yes, they were maintenance queens. And the pilots who flew them were like, yes, they lost a lot of the airframes. It's a very dangerous airplane to fly, but it looks really fucking cool. Are the Brits still using the Harrier? No. They just now got F-35Bs. They don't rely on the Marine Corps anymore for flight. But no, they retired the Harrier a long time ago. In fact, they gave us all their Harrier airframes to keep the Marine Harriers going. So, yeah. So, all right, chat. With that said, I am going to bed. I will see you guys tomorrow. And, yeah. Remember, until next time, chat, just because you did it. Oh. Mario, hey, man. He's saying, are you done talking about the holder in due course? I had to hide today because that shit was giving me flashbacks and complications. Oh, yeah. That's all rough in commercial paper and, securing priority. Oh, yeah. It's rough. But anyways, chat, remember until next time. Just because you did it does not mean you're guilty. Boop. Good night, chat. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Okay, come on. Where are you at?
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty, but please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy?